a place in Ishpeming, and it's inside the Gazer building on the first floor. It's a beautiful lounge space that is a place for women to come and gather, to grow empowerment, personal empowerment. It's a place where the ethos is about living with heart from the inside out in whatever way that that means for a particular person in a particular stage or wherever they're at. That looks different for everyone. And we have community and tools and gatherings to bring that type of community together for authenticity, more of those things, less judgment, less gossip, more aliveness. So from things like a community potluck once a month to a deep dive 10-week program. The 10-week program is for people looking to grow forward from the inside out, who want a closed container, some guidance, some structure, and then to also be able to come together and have that same community going through. And so it's a very wonderful invitation to be selfish and to fill the self, but also to be part of the basket in the container of others that you would get to know. So that is our signature program, and it has a lot of navigational skills for doing that very thing of growing forward with resilience. On your paper, what I'm going to highlight are some of the aspects of that, so that whether or not you decide to join the course or not join the course, that you would get a feeling of what that's about, and I hope that it would meet you in some way just by hearing it. So if that's all you do, then that you would take that with you. So that is the goal. You'll see there that there's the word courage, and that becomes an acronym for the framework that I have created called the Courage Integration Model. And the 10-week course that I was talking about, it's called Courage, Power, and Peace. And that is where I teach this Courage Integration Model. And everything that we do in that course is rooted from the very beginning in belonging, courage, and trust. So I think about and have lived experiences where there isn't true belonging, but a very sometimes desperate desire to fit in, and then still wonder why we're not being seen, because fitting in is the opposite of true belonging. So that's a pretty profound statement in and of itself. And then the courage part, where we root into courage, is coming from the Latin root for courage is cur, and that is for heart, the heart of a matter, the heart of a situation, your heart, the heart of your emotions and thoughts, whether they are positive or negative singing. A lot of times we hear, oh, it's okay, or oh, but for that it must be fine, when really you're feeling icky inside and not able to move forward. Or if things are coming from this silent bitterness because of being overextended or not seen, then that is another piece, that what's coming out from that, what's going to radiate out, is bitterness, because that's what's in the heart. If it is an openness and a curiosity, that might radiate out. If it's a healthy set of boundaries, that might radiate out. So looking at that courage with the root of heart, and that suffix of age in the English language is of or belonging to. So what is of or belonging to the heart of the matter, the person, the thing? Then trust. There is no healthy relationship that can happen without trust. It takes time to cultivate, and it is shredded in an instant. Mm-hmm. So we root in those, learning about those, and we touch on those. And then we move into, week by week, the next phases of this model. So if you haven't in your notes, you can jot down belonging, courage, and trust somewhere off to the left or something for you to contemplate those words. Let them come through your hand if you'd like. Okay? Our first part of that acronym is compassion. So, compassion. When I hear people talk about compassion or ask them, they say, oh yeah, everybody should have compassion. And that's a very idealistic statement, and it's an out there statement. It's more kind of a philosophical statement that might float around and churn and you could talk about it. But what's happening when the individual, me, my dear Laura back here, any number of you, have compassion fatigue? What if your cup is so empty, or you were never shown to even fill your cup, that you don't have compassion? So this everybody should have compassion, if we're thinking this, right? That's wonderful to attain, but it does nothing to know if we're filled with compassion, if we can give compassion out. So the thing around compassion that I want to give you to take today is that when we cannot give compassion out, give compassion in. That is a self-directed activity that no one else can do for you. When I cannot give compassion out, I must give compassion in. And belonging has to be there to allow ourselves to even accept that without feeling like a bad person. Okay? Ownership. Ownership is the next one. So the question to ask yourselves is, and this is an open-ended question, because sometimes questions allow ourselves to be able to rise and answer it, as water seeking its own level. So ownership, the question is, where do I end and others begin? Where do others end? Where do I begin? Notice the both and happening, not either or. We have a small person with us. There's a small person. Okay, so next is unity. And it is not any kind of unity. It is not go along and get along. It is not we are in unity if we all wear the same sweater, or like the same music, or subscribe to the same ideology. Nope, it is interdependent unity. And in this one, we take a look at the spectrum of dependence. So in a spectrum, it can go way out one way, and way out the other way, okay? The outliers are often what we think we have to do in order to be a certain thing. However, when we bring things closer toward the midline on a spectrum, there's usually more stasis, okay? It's more stable. So in this spectrum of dependence, we have codependence way over here. Codependence is not bad. However, when you get over here and the scales are tipping, this is addiction. This is, I'm not having fulfillment inside, and so I'm addicted to another person's thoughts about me, another person's approval about what I'm doing. I am not getting the true connection that I need, and so I am addicted to my phone, to shopping, to name it, anything. And so if we come this way, the opposite thing of that, way over here, independence. Also not bad. Necessary. With codependence, we need an amount of that, right? For intimacy. for connection, for working together, collaborating. We are, as a species, socially minded. We need to codepend. So the opposite of independence, that is something that is highly praised in, I'm going to say something very general, which I often don't do, but in US culture. We went through the industrialized revolution. I do it myself, I mechanize, I work it through, and this gets fed up and through. I do it myself, I do it myself, I do it myself, right? However, nature wants there to be some type of stasis, right? So we get over here so far, and we desperately want connection. So then there's this ping-ponging action. Has anybody ever done this? I'm so all by myself, oh my gosh, I have to cling to this other thing. Or I'm so tired of clinging to this other thing, I have to be only by myself. There's a loss of group creativity happening over here. There's burnout, there's isolation. Any relating to any of this spectrum? So there's this amazing, healthy, sweet spot with some codependence and some independence, right? Where if you can imagine the infinity weaving these together through the self, in and out, that's interdependence between me and you. And that requires a set of navigational skills in order to cultivate. Okay, so then we've got, let's see, we left off with unity. Okay, so R is for respect and ability to respond. I'm going to give an example of somebody saying to you, screw you. Okay? Has anybody had that happen in their lives? Never. Have you given that to anyone else? Okay, screw you. You could use whatever words you want. It's the energy. Okay? In that energy, there is no respect. What happens when there's no respect? There's no room. Respect is a structure to hold a space for something to move between. When that energy is present and you're giving it out, or someone's giving it to you, there's no room. And how can we exist to resolution or connection if there is no respect? There's another edge to that too. If we don't respect ourselves enough to prune ourselves away, we are keeping a garden with no room for us. I have to own that for me. You all get the opportunity to own that for you. Awareness. Awareness. Here's a little tidbit. So awareness has to be present in order to navigate all these other things I talked about and the ones after, okay? So here's a tool, and this is sometimes a deeper level tool the first time that you hear it, but one of the things that we work on through this model is metacognition, which is a psychological term for self-observance, which is like looking at oneself objectively. So, for example, I can do this even right now because I've thought about it, I've practiced it, and I've done it quietly on my own. And I've lived my life from it so that I can navigate outward. And that is, with this metacognition right now, I can imagine myself floating above myself so that I can see objectively what it is like to be even standing here like this, to be presenting to you, how I feel, how I'm perceiving you all in the room. And I can notice that. Right now I feel really at ease. Other times I have not. Maybe I wasn't as prepared. Maybe I was not as used to being in front of a crowd. But I can take that and go, wow, how am I feeling in my body right now? How am I feeling here? And instead of being in a reactionary phase, I can then consider myself and navigate my choices from there. So that's a higher level thing to do, but it's a very powerful tool, and so I at least want to throw it out there to you. We talk about other things in awareness as well. Let's see. So we've got grace and grit. That is the G. Both and. Grace and grit. And here is a thing I like to say about grace and grit, is that grace greases the wheels of life, while grit gains traction. The last one is energy, movement, and renewal. We are made to rest and renew. If we do not, energy, movement, and renewal, if we do not, then we break down and disintegrate, basically. We become ungrounded, worn out. We don't have that wholeness of ourselves, and we cannot, even here's the name of the presentation, we cannot bloom up. Has anyone in the room felt like maybe they were a rescue plant back, in the plant section, the one that's not looking so hot because the store people didn't water it, and it is tired of fluorescent lights, and it got the bugs from last week or whatever? I have. So when this happens, what I have started to recognize, and what I like to invite other people into, is that we can be active in our own rescue. We are not a plant who's sitting there on a shelf, that we are people who can, in fact, decide to use what we have little by little, if that's what we can do. Start asking for help. Start recognizing that our cup is so empty that we need to start doing a couple of different things, or less things, or something that makes us come alive, right? It's not the same for every person, and it's not the same for every person in different stages. What we need at one time is different at another time, depending on our depletion or level. So that is what I have for you to take notes down in. How much time do we have?
Another 10 minutes.
We have 10 minutes, okay? So this was put down as an interactive presentation. So I would like to invite you to become brave, okay? You don't have to. You might be brave by sitting here taking this in. That's enough, right? That's okay. If you want, it might only be a few of you, to kind of turn inward a little bit with your bodies and sort of face so that everyone can kind of just create almost like a parentheses here. And I want to know, let's just show of hands, okay? Who resonated with let's say belonging, courage, and trust?
Can you say that again?
Who resonated with needing that belonging, courage, and trust? Okay, look around. Look around. Keep your hands up. Okay, that is the majority of the room. We walk around often thinking that everybody else has it great, except for the ones who, are on their crawling on the ground. But really, we need these things. People that we walk by in the grocery store, ourselves, our friends, each other. How about for the compassion? Raise your hand high if anything from that compassion part struck you. Okay. We're at 98%. How about the ownership? Okay. And look at each other. I would love for you to put your hands back up for ownership. Look at each other. Be seen and see each other. Okay. Thank you. Let's see. So unity. That was with the interdependence. Okay, hands high, look around, notice.
I'll just keep it up.
Right?
Yeah, I am too. I'm just good.
Okay, this is an arm workout.
Oh, yeah, I'll do one and then the other.
Then you get reps.
Okay.
And how about the respect piece and ability to respond, which I didn't touch on, which is that we
Yeah,
have
you did a little bit,
self-agency.
I think, when you said
We have
that.
self-agency. Okay, so there.
Somebody gonna get in and
Right.
Yeah, I did say me, I said,
Yeah.
I can push people away, but I get angry and they can push me away when
Right.
that's how I, yeah. I don't let them listen to them already, but don't have respect, I'm already pushing them away.
Right. You've already cut off the room for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Awareness. To be able to develop that awareness. Okay? Grace and grit. That's that both and. Grace for self, and then come back to it. And grit. 2 hands. Okay. And energy, movement, and renewal.
Needed.
Okay. That's great. It's so good, and it makes us smile when we have energy, movement, and renewal. This one just knows it.
Mm-hmm.
It's laughing over there. So, I am curious who has questions, comments, something they want to ask me about any of these concepts. And if someone has a question, other people are probably thinking it. So it stems, and we all learn from each other.
How did you come up with that?
So I have
The
been.
word card, it's like in the yeah.
I have been doing this work for about a decade. So I come from Oregon, and in Oregon, my company there pre-pandemic was called the Courage Tribe. And then I had to use my tools and apply them in Word because I had, I was running a business, and I then had to, quarantine with 2 kids that was now homeschooling was on me, and I'm a single parent. So I put all of this down, but at that time, my business was called the Courage Tribe, and I have done, let me tell you, a lot of thinking and synthesizing and speaking and teaching and pointing it to myself and holding it back out around the concept of holistic courage.
Like this, I'm actually gonna take a picture of this and send it to my sister who's going through a very trying time with my mom right now in Massachusetts, so I think my sister should
Have that, yeah, good, I love it. So I have, if anyone's come by the Apiary Life Studio booth today, I have courage cards there, and you can draw them. So I made this deck some years ago, and I have over 100 words, 116, I think it is. And so I've thought about words that I want to help people draw out. And I was asked to give a presentation for a women's entrepreneurial group, and I thought, what am I gonna do? And I was like, I have these words, I should choose appropriately words from my deck that would go with this acronym courage. And I am not kidding you, they like fell out to me, and then I have developed it from there in-person presentations and workshops, and as well with this is the courage integration model basically. And then that's where I have the online and in-person hybrid course. So, yes,
Is there such thing as being too independent?
I think so. I think so, because when you're way over here, you've lost the code. Where's the connection? Where's the intimacy? Where is the sharing of ideas in a healthy fashion? That's cut off. Whether it's inability, a lack of trust, and not knowing how, any number of things. But yes, I think, just like, I often in these concepts, I think about water. Water is something that we would all die without. We cannot last without water. Also, if we jumped, it supports our body, right? Like if we're swimming, we love that. We were born from a sap of water, right? Also, if we were to come out and fall and smack in it, it would break our arm. So the independence is like that, and so is the codependence, where it is important and imperative for our health and vitality. Yet if you're too far one way or too far another, it becomes toxic. Okay.
Kind of on the opposite end of that, independence, codependence. Codependence. I don't know if you do anything like this in your space, but Codependence Anonymous was something I started doing a couple of years ago in North Carolina, and I kind of moved around a lot and did some in like a group in California and Oregon before I moved here a couple of years ago. And I was wondering if you have ever heard about it, if you integrate or use any of that kind of.
I don't know about that. I mean, it sounds like it'd be right up my alley.
Yeah. It was super helpful for me to learn about my personal like codependent tendencies and how it affected my relationships, like friendships,
That is
familyships.
Something that we do within that program.
Okay, cool.
So that's an aspect of it, and we go over that for whoever's in that program. And when I do personal coaching or other programs, basically I say it's kind of like I have this well-stocked kitchen pantry. And wherever I am and can pull those ingredients out, I will. So if there are other programs and that comes up, we might touch on it. If there's a one-to-one session, we can deep dive on that and do that on a personal level. And then in this particular program, we spend a module on that kind of stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, I'd be interested in that too.
Yeah.
So I think we're nearing the end. Do we have time for one more question?
I can do one more.
One more question. Who's got something? Yes.
You were trying to tell where I am in another person. Because I even have it with the thoughts that come in my head, and those mine and theirs.
Right.
How do you draw that?
I think it is a longer question than this second, but I think a question to ask yourself often, whether it's someone else's or yours, is this serving me?
Okay. That's a good way to sort them. It doesn't matter if it's mine or not. Not serving me.
Yep.
Cool.
I remember meeting you before.
You've met me before?
I'm certain. Did you come to the Joy Festival
No.
at the Peter White Library?
This is the first time I've been to something like this, because I've been looking for a tribe since I've been in Escanaba since 15. I've been able to find a single
It's
soul.
someone else. I thought for sure you were that person. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. So everyone, if you haven't been by the Apiary Life Studio booth, we are about to rush back there so that the next person can come up and present. We're on the center aisle, and there is a brand new Facebook community where you can either search it up, it's Apiary Life Studio FB for Facebook community. Click join because we're adding people. We don't have events put in there yet, but it's just an empty room. So sign up to be in the empty room.
Do you have a new Facebook out there and there's booth?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I have a QR code and you can just put, you can do that and it'll put you right in. We have a mailing list that you can get on, and then you can take the tour of our programs from the table. So, thank you. Yeah.